and everything else that want to separate the people and the patriots in this country from our police and military. So this is a great coalition. We want a number of Oath Keepers. Stuart Rhodes has founded. They have local and, retired and current military and police that are reaffirming their oath to uphold the Constitution, will not violate their constitutional oaths and oppress the people. So this is great. I mean, the original colonial militia we had at that time, they supplemented at the time, it was the constables and the sheriffs. They had their function, but we were all united under a common goal to protect our rights.
Well, also, they knew that you couldn't have a constable or sheriff's deputy everywhere at every time. That's why they said, man, it's your job to protect this area from criminals, from the natives, and then from corrupt government. And so that's what liberty's all about. And Switzerland has this system. A few other countries have it. And they are all the freest nations on earth.
Yeah, so that's a good point, Alex. It'll probably, when we revitalize it by state statute, the constitutional state militia, it'll probably look a little bit more like something like the Swiss militia has today. It won't look like it did 200 years ago, but it's the same principles. And our founders believed there was only time they used the word necessary in our Constitution. In order to have a free state, there was one thing that was necessary. And it wasn't Congress, it wasn't even the president, it wasn't the Supreme Court. But this one thing was the state institution called a well-regulated militia. That means well-organized within the communities and within the states. That will provide for a free state. And without that, you have the opposite, like a police state. And we haven't had a fully functioning state militia anywhere in this country for over 100 years. And that's what our goal is to revitalize it.
Well, it's just beautiful, Walter. Are you buoyed? Are you excited? Does it hearten you to know that there are states like South Dakota, Texas on the verge? Texas is big.
Yes.
In fact, coming out and saying, there is tyranny. We're not putting up with the tyranny of the feds.
Absolutely. And, Alex, I know you had a lot of the state legislators on that are starting to get this, and they're really, and I've spoke to a number of them, Dan Itza up in New Hampshire, a friend of mine, and Charles Key down in Oklahoma, I've spoken to, and this is exactly what they need. Our allies in these state legislators need this power behind it, and this is what the petition is all about. So the state legislators know that the people are behind this. We'll be able to have the power behind it to get these statutes enacted. So,
in fact, speaking of that, here's Rick Perry, Bilderberg Group member, New World Order, everything else. But because our movement's coming so huge, getting so large, the people are ready for revolution everywhere and resistance to tyranny. The establishment is having to at least camouflage themselves like us. And that's fine, because that only legitimizes what we're doing even more to block what the New World Order is doing through Barack Obama. Here he is in a press conference 2 days ago.
It concerns all Texans. It concerns all Americans. The 10th Amendment was enacted by folks who remembered what it was like to have a very oppressive government, to be under the thumb of tyrants and an all-powerful government. Unfortunately, the protections it guarantees have melted away over the course of the years. You're probably familiar with that old adage about how to boil a frog. You know, you just get him to sit there in that pot and you turn up the heat a little bit by a little bit, and before you know it, the frog doesn't realize it, but he's done. And since the United States Constitution was ratified, the federal government's been slowly kind of turning up the heat on the states, if you will, and they've eroded the notion of states' rights. The Founding Fathers understood that a one-size approach doesn't work with the states when it comes to governing, especially a country the size of the United States. And I'll promise you it doesn't work for Texas. Our economic strength compared to the federal budget mess and other problems that they've got up there is a great example that Texans know best how to govern Texas.
Okay.
We're proof.
Now, meanwhile, Perry's been going along with the land grabbing, the roads being handed over to foreign countries, all of this. But at least he's got to come out now and sound like us. And in the MIAC report, in the Virginia Terrorism Threat Assessment, in the new Homeland Security report we got that's now national news, they specifically name the states' rights. And they try to claim we're calling for secession. And they always misframe what we're saying. We're saying the states created the federal government. We can uncreate it and recreate it. But at this phase, all we're saying is we're not under your unconstitutional control. Right, Mr. Ruddy?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. We're just want to put a check on their constitutional what we've delegated to the federal government. All other powers belong to the states and the people. Basically, the 10th Amendment there.
But the feds are completely out of control and don't care. So we have this collision coming, and the establishment knows it's coming. How do you see this playing out, Walter?
Well, I'm really hopeful just to see the majority of the states now, and at least introducing these 10th Amendment resolutions. That means that we have a lot of support within our state legislators. And with this petition, this is a powerful weapon. I mean, the ones that aren't with us, I think they'll vote for it and sponsor it just out of fear, but that they'll
exactly. It makes them pick a side and show us who they're with. Again, fire out the website for the big event coming up this weekend.
Okay, it's you can go to committeesofsafety.org. We have a flyer on there, and I'd like to encourage your listeners, Alex, please join us. Volunteer, sign up with us. Doesn't cost anything, and get in this battle with us.
Yeah, because this is a prototype, what you're doing with the Oath Keepers and others. And you've got very prominent people coming to this who represent millions. You know, the Rolling Thunder folks and all of them are going to be. You need to really promote this, listeners, because we're reaching out to the military and police and giving them a choice. A lot of them haven't thought they have a choice. Do you want to be with the Republic, the founders, liberty, freedom, free market, decency, honor? Or do you want to be with the New World Order and give them that choice? Let them. The choice was always there. A lot of them just didn't really consciously think about it. We are presenting them that choice, and this is historical. Walter Reddy, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Alex. Okay.
And listen, we'll talk to you after the event coming up. Thank you so much for inviting me there as well. Okay. I want to take your calls when we come back to the next segment. I just want to say this. We are at a crossroads, and I keep repeating that, but we're at a real crossroads here. The forces of corruption, control, dominance, usurpation are upon us. That's human history. That's the norm. Do you want to live under bondage? You don't know how good something is until it's gone. And being a slave is not fun. And a lot of people now are figuring out this is serious. This isn't a joke or a game. And so they're finally waking up. But they're waking up kind of like a baby wakes up to the wider world. They still don't know exactly